This is the first video about Oxford's Thinking Skills Assessment, or the TSA as it's informally known, and the first video is just going to be an introduction and a format explanation. So the TSA is a test used by Oxford University to admit students into 6 or 7 courses, including economics and management, PPE, experimental psychology, various others. And the playlist is going to attempt to provide as in-depth explanation as possible on how to do well in the test, because it is arguably the biggest, if not one of the biggest and most important parts of the admissions process. So the TSA is an entrance test. It has 50 questions, which are multiple choice, and you have 90 minutes to do them. 25 of these are critical thinking questions, and these really are, in my opinion, the easier half of the test, because all these critical thinking type of questions can be boiled down into just 7 categories, and the players will go through all 7 one by one, but you'll have to do various things such as identifying conclusions, applying principles, matching reasonings of arguments, so on and so forth. So you basically have to read quite a long paragraph and then find the conclusion, find the assumption, do something with it. They're usually quite quick, and they're usually fairly easy in comparison to problem-solving questions, which are the other 25 questions. These are time burners, really. The actual sort of answer is not very hard to get to. It just takes a very long time. As you can see, you don't have especially long per question. You have less than 2 minutes per question, which is very tight on time. Also, the test is not split as in the first 25 critical thinking and the second 25 problem solving. It's usually, but not guaranteed, to be question 1 is a critical thinking, and is usually always identifying the main conclusion. And then we go in patterns of 3. So 2, 3, and 4 are problem solving. 5, 6, and 7 are critical thinking. We keep alternating like that in groups of 3. Blah, 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 until you'll end up at 47, 48, 49 are critical thinking, and 50 is often an infamously difficult problem-solving question to end off with. So the playlist will go through, as well as possible, how to answer all types of questions. In terms of what you should aim for, in a lot of other entrance tests for various universities, such as TMUA, such as STEP, you don't necessarily need a very high percentage to do well. Unfortunately, in the TSA, you do need to do quite well percentage-wise to end up with a good converted score. So what they do is they give you a mark out of 50, and then that is converted into a scaled score. So for example, if you got 30 out of 50, that might, I'm not saying it is, but it might be, for example, a 60 as a scaled score. Whereas if you get 37 out of 50, that might give you 69. The higher up the tail you go, so each mark you go up, the more each mark is worth scaled wise, at least on the upper tail in the upper half of the mark. So for example, the gap between getting 36 and 37 might be, say, +2 for a scaled score, but between 48 and 49 it might actually get you an extra 7 scaled score. So the higher up the tail you can go, the more reward you get for getting questions right. That is section 1 of the TSA. That's what most people will do. A couple of people, if you're doing PP only, it's the only reason you have to do is to do section 2, which is an essay. You get a choice of 4 questions, and you have to basically write an essay about that question for 30 minutes. And that isn't given, say, an objective mark like this, because these are multiple choice. They can be given an objective mark. This is not given an objective mark. It's marked, but not, of course, factually. It's just looked at by tutors at your Oxford College that you applied to, and they can judge you off that. It tends to be, even for PPE, worth less than section 1. So really, section 1 is what you want to look at. Even if you're doing PPE, you want to do as absolutely well as possible. Your aim, really, for section 1 should be about 42 to 43 out of 50, which will give you a scaled score of about 75. that's roughly what you want to aim for to have a really good competitive application. But anything more than 70 gives you a decent shot, and I've known many people to get in with mid 60s as well. So, no matter what you get, you don't necessarily rule yourself out. But to get an interview, really, you want to be getting 70 and above, and to get in, 75 is a good sort of aim. But of course, higher you can go, if you can get into the 80s, you're really putting in a competitive score. So that is an introduction to the TSA. The next few videos will focus on these 25 critical thinking questions, going through all 7 types and working out how to do them.